My name is Ryan and I'm in recovery. I think today's 4 weeks, 28 days. I am clean and sober from drugs and alcohol. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos, I have been kind of battling with a cocaine addiction for a long time. I'm 38 years old and it's kind of been a bit of a problem pretty much since my teens, in various forms, but it kind of all came to a head and got bigger than I could handle. At the beginning of this year, it all kind of ended up coming out. My family all found out, and I went to rehab, and I have been documenting my recovery journey since rehab. I was actually about 110 days clean from cocaine, and I relapsed, and yeah, it's now 28 days since the relapse. I've been clean and sober. Yeah, so anyone that's followed my story already will know that I worked in the music industry for a long time. Most of my adult life, actually, I've worked in the music industry. I've quit that now. I'm currently not working, focusing on my recovery and looking at what I'm going to do next. It might be something kind of more in like event planning or something like that, but it just won't be kind of parties and raves. I've decided it's best that I, for obvious reasons, stay away from that world. As you can imagine, I've got a few stories about things that went down in that time. When I first started working in the music industry, the novelty of getting guest list and free tickets to things was still very new, and there was one summer where I just basically went to I think I went to a festival every weekend for about 10 weeks. I would just accept guest lists for everything. And a friend that I'd got to know through putting on parties, who was in a quite successful band, he was playing at Latitude Festival and he offered me one of the artist guest list spots, and I took it and was very excited about it. And I went, but this was, nowadays when I go to a festival, I've got like a Bell tent and quite a nice plush setup. Comfort is important. I've come to realise when you're sleeping in a field for 3 or 4 nights. But back then I was a bit more rogue. I'd almost just turned, like this, in this instance in particular, I literally just turned up with some booze and I think maybe some drugs, I can't really remember. But yeah, I was planning on just kind of bunking into someone's tent. I hadn't really even thought about it. I was only going for the one night, the day they were performing, and then the plan was to just stay there that night and then head home the morning after. And yeah, I got to the festival, watched my mate's band perform. It was all fun, and I was drinking and kind of getting into the mood. And then I was kind of, when they finished, I was then kind of partying with them, and we were kind of roaming around the festival together, and I was drinking really, really heavily. And at some point, I don't remember when, I kind of lost my memory. I blacked out, and then kind of next time, when my memory kind of came back, I was just with a load of random people that I didn't know. I wasn't with my mates from the band anymore. I'd somehow lost them, and my phone was dead, and I'd lost everything else I had on me. I didn't have my debit cards or anything like that, and I was just roaming around with these guys who were like kind of spoon feeding me coke, and was kind of like having a bit of a party with them. It then got to Latitude's not really a wild festival where everything closes at a fairly reasonable time, so it got to a time when kind of all the bars and stuff were closing down, and I realised I had nowhere to sleep. I didn't want to just go back with these kind of random people that I just met and don't even really remember meeting, so I kind of went looking for my friends that had got me the guest list. It's also just for the purpose of the story, at some point, when I'd met up with them, I'd originally gone back to their tent with them and kind of, chilled for a bit with them. So I kind of had a vague memory of where their tent was, and it was kind of in this little artist bit, and I had my guest list pass or whatever. So I kind of went back, found that area, went there, got to what I thought was their tent, kind of looked the same from what I remember. So but they weren't there. So I just got in and fell asleep. Next thing I know, I woke up and some guy was like, "What the fuck are you doing in my tent?" Blah, 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 kind of shouting at me, and realised I was just in a random person's tent sleeping. Luckily, he kind of saw the funny side, but yeah, sent me on my way. And at that point, I'd probably only slept a couple of hours, and I was really disorientated, and yeah, my phone wasn't working. thinking back, I'm sure I could have just gone and got it charged if I'd really thought about it, but I was just like, you know, sloppy and wasn't really thinking straight. And yeah, when he then kicked me out the tent, I looked around for my friend's tent a bit more, couldn't find it, and was just like, I just need to get out of here. So I just decided to start walking. And like Latitude Festival is miles away from anywhere. I was living in London at the time, but yeah, I just started walking, and I literally was walking for hours and hours and hours down like busy roads. Like, I remember it as motorways, maybe it was A roads, I can't quite remember, but yeah, really busy roads, just walking and walking and walking. I must have walked for like 4 or 5 hours. At this point, it's like, you know, the sun's coming up, it's early morning, and I remember I got to a petrol station, and I went to go into the petrol station to go to the toilet, and I think I was just like drinking water from the tap. You know, it was pretty, yeah, like I say, no phone, no money, so I had no like money for water or anything. But yeah, when I came out of the petrol station, I saw like a car full of people that were kind of all in like festival get up. And I just asked one of them, I was like, whereabouts are you guys going? And they were like, oh, we're driving to London. And I was like, can I please, and I kind of gave them a quick rundown of the situation I was in. I was like, can I just bunk in with you? And luckily they had a space in the car, so they let me bunk in. I was like, just drop me wherever you want in London. Once I get to London, I'll just work it out for myself. And they were actually really lovely. One of them even, I think he gave me like a tenner so that I could navigate my way when I got into London. Yeah, so I managed to get back to London. It was still really early morning by this point, and I used the tenner to get an Oyster card and get the train back to my flat. I got back to my flat, plugged my phone in on charge, and then I remembered, well, I didn't remember actually, I saw a message from my boss at the time, and it was like, it's like company sports day today. It was like the staff summer party for the company I was working for, and I was like the head of the department, and he was like, you need to come in and kind of help me prep. I still can't remember to this day what my plan was in terms of that. I must have, I don't know, I just totally forgot. But anyway, yeah, I ended up having to go into work, kind of help set up this sports day, and then partake in the sports day. Bear in mind, other than that couple of hours I slept in some rogue person's tent, I've not slept. You know, I've drank loads, I'm hanging, done drugs, all that kind of stuff, and then had to partake in like tug of war, sack race, egg and spoon, all these kind of, and I just remember the whole day just being like hell. I just felt awful and was trying not to kind of show senior people at the company in what a bad state I was. I was trying to kind of like, you know, give the staff like this fun sports day, but was just dying on the inside. It wasn't fun.